We all know that the fashion industry has made strides to be more body inclusive, but is that really the reality? I'm sitting down with Phaith Montoya. She's a plus-size model, a TikTok star, fashion influencer, a voice for body positivity, and she pulls back the curtain on the realities of what it's like to be a plus-size model at New York Fashion Week. So we were just on the 6 o'clock news together. You came on Fox 5 to talk about National Eating Disorder Week. And that's something that's so personal for you. You went through that. Talk to me a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, I think it was very eye-opening because I was under the assumption that plus-size people do not have eating disorders for large part of my life until I obviously went to college and got my degree in psych and started learning a lot more about the eating disorder and seeing a therapist myself and officially getting diagnosed with binge eating disorder, which is something that I don't think is represented in the media as much as other eating disorders. And yeah, it's been a long road to recovery, but I am just so grateful to have the education to know about it because I would have lived my whole life not knowing.
How old were you?
When I got it or when I
just
learned
like
about
when
it?
you started to realize what was happening.
I was definitely around 19, 20 years old when I realized. I think growing up, around like 10 is when I started gaining a little bit more weight. And at the time, I didn't know I had an autoimmune disease that caused me to gain weight. And because of that, I was put on a lot of diets at a young age, in the 2000s, the Slim Fast, the Hollywood diets. And that had lasting effects to me now even now, 27. But when I was 20, my doctor telling me that like binging is the way that I emotionally cope because my mind was wired to think, you don't know when you're going to eat again. You don't know when you're going to get starved again. Because that's essentially what is happening when you're going on these diets at such a young age. It
it trained you in that way.
Yeah, so they're like, my brain is literally like, eat as much as you can because this is what you have control over right now in this moment. Because your brain is just like so manipulated to be in those diets and restriction and that cycle that I didn't realize that it was something that at the time, 8 years, 10 years after the fact, still had an effect on me.
And I'm sure when you're eating, you get like a dopamine boost also.
Yeah, no. And it's crazy because like I could still eat and I wasn't even hungry. It was more about like that control thing and feeling like I now am not being like policed. So I have just this free autonomy to eat. And then, follows the shame after the fact because you're like, why did I do that? Why did I eat a whole pizza by myself? And it's just a vicious cycle. You feel like that dopamine, then the shame, and then you go like, I gotta diet or I gotta fast to like make up for it. And it was just a vicious cycle that I suffered for years.
And then you're in college.
Yes.
Which is like, to top it all off, makes it so hard.
Yeah, no. And I am like one of the first in my family to go to college. So I didn't have a lot of guidance in that in itself. And I had 4 or 5 jobs at one time. I was very, very hardworking, but like having to face that issue behind closed doors because it's not something you really talk about with your friends or anybody else. Was something that I suffered with. I was failing classes. I was on academic probation. It was bad, and I'm glad that I finally got the resources, but it was a long time coming.
And you were going through it.
Yeah.
What point did you think like, oh, I need help? Because if you are not talking to anyone about it, how do you make that realization?
It was really my classes. It's so funny to say that, but like you start learning about personality disorders, eating disorders, different things in psych classes. And I remember coming to like the eating disorder section, and I've only ever heard of anorexia and bulimia.
Yeah, that's like what you see and what you hear in films.
Always, people purging or, going to the bathroom and doing whatever there. But binge eating disorder was the first time I ever heard of it, and we list the symptoms, and we obviously have to study them for tests, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm like checking off every box. And luckily for me, my college offered a few free sessions of therapy for every student every semester. And I was like, well, it's free, let me just go. I hadn't even really believed in therapy till then. And yeah, like that therapist, she really rocked my world.
And you must, so what did you do at that point? Did you change your relationship with food? Like what's the treatment to that?
Well, she sent me to a nutritionist.
Okay.
because I was also free for college students there. So I was really blessed with the resources.
Yeah,
and that's
great.
not a lot
Where
of
did you
things.
go to college?
FSU.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah. So that's another thing that I think people don't understand. Resources are a thing that are very limited to places that are filled with people of like lower socioeconomic status. Like if I hadn't had all those resources, like I couldn't even imagine being able to have the recovery path that I had. That was really like seamless because she sent me to a nutritionist. She sent me to a psychiatrist. I did get medicated for it. I didn't even know there was medication for binge eating disorder. Yeah,
wow.
there is.
Yeah.
And the nutritionist just helped me with my relationship with like food. Every month she would give me like little goals, like I want you to drink this much water today. I want you to eat one fruit, every other day. And it was never like, I want you to cut out sugar. I want you to stop eating carbs. It was, I want you to add things into your diet instead of thinking of taking them away. And that rewired my brain completely.
I think diet culture is so like negative in a way. It's like, you can't eat this. You can't do this. So many rules of things you can't do. And I think that probably does not help the overall problem.
Yeah. No, it definitely doesn't. I feel like because you're always keeping yourself in that restrictive mindset. And as humans, we always want what we can't have. Like that's by nature. So I think her giving me those little goals really just taught me like, why do I keep subtracting? Like if I want something sweet, girl, you can have your something sweet, but like also have something on the side that's healthy to like accompany that something sweet. And it really, really made all the difference. And people think that it's like you can really hate yourself into that, but you're just going to be in this vicious cycle of like hate, shame, and disgust. And what is that really worth?
Did you find in this journey that there were other people also like you going through the same thing?
Oddly enough, not really. Not in my real life.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe there are some of like family members that I know have had similar experiences. Like I feel like everybody was put on a diet back in the day, but nobody that was like formally diagnosed. So it was really lonely until I really made the pivot into like social media and started talking about it a little bit more.
Let's talk about that, because you have like 4 million followers on TikTok. You've amassed such a social media following just by sharing your story. What prompted you to do that, to kind of go on social media to talk about what you've been through?
I feel like I started going viral because I shaved my head. And
when was that?
That was in 2020.
Oh, wow, during the pandemic?
Yes, fresh into the pandemic. I was just like rock bottom, and at that point you're like, what else can you lose? And I was like, let's just have a fresh start with my hair.
Wow. And it was like almost like, was it control? Like gaining control in a lot of ways?
Kind of control. I read an article when I was a teenager that said every woman should shave their head once in their life. Wow. So I had always had in the back of my mind, I would always tell my friends I'm going to do it one day, and they never believed me. But
your hair's so beautiful.
Thank you. We came a long way.
You shaved your head.
Yes, yeah. But it was like blonde, damaged. It was a lot of stuff going on. And COVID, I lost like my job, lost a family member. Like it was just so many things on top of it. And I was just like, you know what? I need a fresh start. This is it. And it was by far the scariest thing I've ever done in my entire life, especially as a woman. We just hold so much femininity on our hair.
Yeah.
But it was the greatest thing ever because it launched my social media career just by showing my hair growth videos. I think in 8 months, I got 1 million followers.
Wow.
Yeah.
What were the questions people were asking?
Like, how's your hair growing so fast? Why did you do it? Do you have cancer? A lot of different type of responses, but I didn't really do it for the responses or what people said. I just kind of wanted to document my hair growth.
Yeah.
And I didn't think at the time I had gotten over 100 million across all my videos. I didn't think 100 million people would also be tuned into it.
I think there's like a bit of a shock factor too.
Yeah.
Like, how can you do that? You know, willingly, I know like with cancer, I lost my hair during chemo, but that wasn't willingly, but I will say that in growing the hair back, you learn a lot about yourself.
Yes, you certainly do. And I think that sitting with myself at every phase of that hair growth, because like you can learn to love your hair, but in 2 weeks you can't even do the same hairstyle you could do like last week. Like you it's learn, totally different.
Do you look good in a pixie haircut?
Right. So it was a lot of sitting with yourself and like, wow, I gotta love this version of myself, and I don't have any hair to hide behind. And giving me that platform, I was like, well, I want to show different aspects of myself, not just like my hair growth. I'm not just like a bald girl on the internet. Like I have different facets to me, and going through college and being diagnosed with that eating disorder and also depression, I was like, why not make my content meaningful. Like, it doesn't have to be just emptiness, you know, like just me just showing my hair growth. Like, let me show the real raw stuff behind who I am. And my day in my life with high functioning depression videos started going viral as well. And I think that's what kind of gave me the, like, okay, there's people out there that also suffer with the things that I do.
Yeah, I think that there's such a community aspect to social media. You're always challenging beauty standards in your videos. What do you think of the beauty industry? Where do you think we're at?
I just feel like some days I'm like, okay, we're getting better. And then other days I'm just like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? Yeah. Like, where is the solidarity, the allyship? It always just feels so, like, lost. And right now I'm just kind of disappointed in the beauty industry. I think that we have made a lot of progress, but I think that size inclusivity always gets put on the back burner, and people's biggest and greatest excuse is, well, we care about people's health. Like, we're not trying to promote, like, unhealthy living. When sometimes people just exist in bigger bodies.
Yeah, some people are just built different, right? We're all built in different ways.
Right, and we carry our weight differently. Or, like, say a woman has really bad postpartum, like, and sometimes women gain 100 pounds during pregnancy. Is she not supposed to feel good until she loses all that weight? And then she's filled with that shame and that hate and that disgust because she doesn't see anybody that looks like her in that moment. And she can't find any clothes that even fit her in that moment. So it's just really disheartening.
You were recently at New York City Fashion Week. When you go into these brands, how is their sizing? Like, how are they doing with sizing?
Not good at all. I was recently invited to a fashion show, and they offered to dress me from the designer. And when I walked in for, like, the sample sizing and whatnot, they said everything only goes up to a size 6. And I was like, I'm a size 16. That's 10 sizes too small. And unfortunately, I'm always like a person who's like, I'm going to make it shake. Like, I'm going to make whatever happen. And I did squeeze my behind into something, but I shouldn't have to.
Especially when they invited you.
Right. Like, I'm like, what? Like, you would have thought I was banging on the door, like, begging to come in, but this is an invite where, you know, they obviously want you there and they want to dress you. But I've been invited to, like, gifting suites, too, for, like, Fashion Week and whatnot. And they'll be like, oh, everything only goes up to a large. But you could pick whatever you want. I'm like, what am I going to pick? Nothing's in my size, you know?
In so many ways, it felt like the fashion industry was making great strides in being inclusive, having plus size models and sizing that was so inclusive to people's different body shapes. But now it just feels like it wasn't executed wholeheartedly. So now it's almost taking a step back.
Yeah, I feel like the fashion industry, if they want to tell us anything right now, it's that women's bodies are in fact trends. Because how can you see this whole body positivity trend and be like, okay, we're gonna extend our sizing, and now that you see that the trend is going away, brands that extended their sizing are even rolling back and being like, actually, we're cutting off those top sizes. And it's like, these plus size women have looked to you for years now, knowing that you are their saving grace, knowing that they're like a place that they're confident they can shop, and you took that away from them because you only saw us as a trend. So I think people need to be very vigilant and know, like, what is that brand saying about you and women all over it? Because I think fat phobia doesn't just affect fat women. I think it affects all women, because it has women thinking that, like, even a size 8 is fat now these days. Yeah. You know, like, where's the limits if we can't stand in solidarity together against the fashion industry?
What are some of the brands that are doing a good job?
I love the drop off of Amazon. Everything they have goes up to like a 5X. I think that is super dope. I love Finesse. I think Finesse is super cool because they don't have like a separate plus size section. Everything that they drop is all up to a 3X. And I think that's important. Like, I hate going to a website and having to like filter my size, and it goes from like 1,000 options to like, I kid you not, like 20.
Yeah.
Like,
and then also like the designs don't look nice. I've seen videos like that where it's like, why do the designs have to look so awful? Like you're wearing like a muumuu, you know what I mean?
Yes, and because they don't want you to be like confident in the things that you wear, so they want everything to be super oversized, so you can't really see your silhouette. And I'm like, I think we've moved so far past that. I think so many women are so comfortable in their silhouette that why are we still making these like, I call it grandma gear. Like, that's what it's giving, grandma gear, and I'm over it.
Yeah. On your social media, you're such a beacon of light and positivity for so many people who are going through struggles, and just seeing you and like, oh my God, she could do it. She looks so amazing. And then there are like, you respond to the haters online. Like, how do you respond to negative critiques or comments about your body or appearance?
Well, I feel like I really reined it in, because I used to be a lot more with the clapbacks, but I think that anybody that really is truly happy is not leaving like miserable hate comments. I know myself, when something bothers me on the internet, if I don't like it, I just like scroll onto the person's. Like, I don't sit there and like type all these like nasty, vicious things under somebody's thing. So I never really take it personally. I know that these people are just projecting, because they themselves probably have like an ideal body type. It'd be a lot of gym rats. I'm like, girl, you're in the gym 4 hours a day and you got the body you want. Why are you hating me for being happy? And I think a lot of that is that projection, that like, they work so hard to get to this body that they have. I should not be as happy as I am, because they don't even get to exist that freely with a body that should be that socially acceptable. So I never really take it personally. And my biggest thing is to educate the masses, my audience, and equip them with the ability to like be able to defend themselves with education. And also, like, sometimes people are like, Phaith, I'm nervous for the holidays because, you know, my family comes at me. Even their own family could be their own haters. I've had those experiences where I've had to be like, please don't talk about you're not allowed to talk about my body.
Yeah, it's not fair.
Like, that's it. Yeah. That's where it is. And if you can't respect that, then I'm going to have to remove my presence. And that in itself is a gift. So
you have to have a really powerful mindset.
Yeah.
How did you develop that over time?
I think it was like being in fight or flight for so long, kind of being your own advocate. Because I think from as long as I can remember, my weight was like always just such a topic surrounding who I am. People never let you forget you're fat, especially in the 2000s. So I think that developing that mindset, I always used to be like, I'm fat and smart. I'm fat and beautiful. I'm fat and all these other things. Like, I'm fat and I have curly hair. I'm fat and, like, I would always say, like, it doesn't just stop at, like, I'm fat, period. Like, there's so many more things to me, and you saying that I'm fat doesn't hurt me anymore. So taking that power back, it took years. I don't want to act like this was like an overnight type of thing. Like, I used to hear the word fat in another conversation and like clutch my pearls and hope that they weren't talking about me. But now that word don't hold no weight on me. You can call me whatever you want, because regardless, it doesn't take away from who I am and the love and laughter I have in my life.
Yeah. You have to be really secure in yourself.
Yeah. Or, you know, faking it till you make it. Because I tell people, like, I have my days where I do not feel the best, but I'm still going to show up anyways. Like, I used to go to the beach in, like, a T-shirt and tights, like, and go into the pool with that type of clothes on. I'm like, no. Like, even on my most insecure days, I'm putting a bathing suit on. I'm not going to, like, risk my own comfort for the sake of others.
Yeah.
Even if I'm insecure, you still gotta like show up.
How do you keep pushing yourself when you don't feel like it?
I think that life is just too short and fragile, and I think as women, we devote so much of our life, or a lot of our life is like stolen because of perception of how others perceive us. And I think I've seen that. I was raised by all women, my mom, my grandma, my aunt. I've seen how it like has stolen parts of their lives because of their fear of being perceived a certain way. And I am like, we only got one life, you know, and time is it goes so fast. It does. You can't, I don't want to give up a second of it to allowing those perceptions to control who I am and how I live, truly, because it's fragile. In the blink of an eye, you'll be 80. Would you care whether somebody thought you looked fat in that bathing suit? No, you just care whether or not you actually went to the places and had fun there.
It's like living in the moment, truly.
Right.
Yeah.
Literally.
And I think you're probably bringing that mindset and just the power in your voice to your brand ambassadorship now that you've got with NAMI, the National Alliance of Mental Illness. How did you get connected with them?
My publicist, actually, you know, I think she saw the type of work that I was doing on social media, because I'm a very multifaceted person. So I wouldn't say like my social media is all about one thing. It's not all about fashion. It's not all about my relationship or my mental health. It's everything. I think women are multifaceted. So I think she saw that little aspect of my social media and was like, girl, like, we need to hone in on this. And I'm so thankful that she did, because when I started this career, I never thought in a million years it could tie back to that degree that I got.
Yeah.
Almost 5 years ago. Like, I was like, oh, well.
Because you got your degree in psychology, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to be a psychiatrist.
Is that something still you want to do, or what do you think your career path is now, just with social media and everything you've been through?
I still want to do, I have some advocation that I still feel like needs to get done, and I still need to keep my foot on a few of these brands and industries' necks.
Right.
But I don't think that, like, school is completely out the cards for me. I think that one day I could definitely see myself going back. I feel like I'm super passionate about it, but there's just so many things with, like, the healthcare industry too that I feel like need a bit fixing, because they are so undervalued. And I think COVID taught me that a lot, you know, the way that they were just worked to the bone. And, you know, I just feel like I need to be in a little bit of a better place mentally to before I enter that again.
Are you actively, you're modeling, and are you, so what are you mostly doing these days?
Filming content. Yeah. It's just a lot of that.
That's a full-time job.
It really is. But, you know, I grew up, like, not having a lot. And always, I said, I worked a lot. I used to have, like, 4 to 5 jobs in college. I had 3 jobs in high school. Like, I was always just a very working type of woman. And I was on government assistance for a while, too. And I think that content creation, what it's given me is, like, the financial freedom to relax. And,
that's, like, amazing. You can get to that point.
Yeah. And I think that, like, all the other stuff, the luxuries, the trips, those things are so nice, but, like, people don't really understand the toll that kind of life takes on you. And that's why I always advocate for those people too. You know, like, when I used to be a teacher as well, and I'm always like, teachers need to get paid more so that their quality of life can be better, because living like that in those extraneous circumstances is only going to be passed on to, like, the next generation of kids, and they're going to feel that stress. So, like, I'm grateful that, like, I get to make my videos, but now I relax. And sometimes people are like, you know, you could be doing more. And I'm like, I'm doing just enough.
Yeah, doing whatever is appropriate that you feel like doing.
Right.
Is most of your revenue then coming from TikTok?
Yeah, it's coming from social media, yeah.
That's amazing. When TikTok is going through the shutdown period, you know, like that whole period of time, what was that like?
It was kind of scary, but I do have other social media platforms, but I also know, like I said, I've been a hustler my whole life, and I'm always grateful that, like, if this opportunity were to go away tomorrow, like, I'm so grateful to have even had the time to enjoy it. And I will go back to doing whatever I'm going to find a way to make a way and do whatever I'm passionate in life, but, like, I won't sweat it too much. It won't be the end of the world. It won't be earth-shattering. As long as I have, like, the people I love in my life, like, I don't know. It would never be that impactful to me.
Wow. You're so deep. You've already got it so figured out. You're 27.
Yeah.
Oh, you're amazing.
I'm a Scorpio.
You're oh, now everything is making sense, Scorpio. I see that you had a brand collaboration with Pretty Little Thing.
Yes.
That's super cool. Are there any other collaborations that you're working on right now?
Yeah, I'm going to be doing something really fun with Finesse soon.
Okay.
Which is one of those brands, like I said.
Yeah.
I just love when brands are still trying to push the needle in places that, you know, in the society that we have now that are just like, everybody's dropping out. So I'm always just super grateful. But yeah, I have that.
What do you want to see kind of happen with the modeling industry for plus size models too? Like, what are you hoping for in the future?
I'm hoping for, like, even when it comes to, like, plus size modeling, some more, like, plus size diversity. I think that I'm super privileged to be in a place where, like, I have more of a palatable body type, and I'm on the smaller end of the plus sizes. So, like, it's easy for a brand to kind of book me and make me the face of something, but I want to see more, like, apple shapes and darker bodies, disabled bodies. Like, I think we need more range.
Representation.
Yeah, representation as well. Like, I think it's just always so lacking. Like, I can't be the end all be all where it stops, because again, I'm on the smaller end of the plus size spectrum. Like, let's get some 3X's in the room.
What have been some of your challenges for bookings? Like, you know, when you show up for bookings, what have you been seeing? Like, what's the reality of it?
Well, honestly, I'm really privileged because of my social media.
Yeah.
Like, I think that it sucks to say too, because there's models that have been in this industry for a really long time, but because they don't have followers, like, sometimes they won't even be looked at. So I'm really fortunate that usually I don't have to go to bookings. You know, it's like the brand will like contact me.
Yeah.
But it's not like that's happening as often as a straight size influencer might be. So that is definitely something that's difficult. And usually anytime that I am contacted, I'm always the only plus size person in a set, on a trip, in an event, in a room, like, you know, and that in itself is really isolating.
Yeah. And you even said, like, when you went to Fashion Week shows that they sat you in the back?
Yeah, like I was with a brand and there was a whole bunch of influencers and I was one of 2 plus size influencers. And we were, it's so like naive and kind of sad to think, we were so happy. We were like, oh my gosh, our seats are right next to each other. We were so happy.
Yeah.
Until we saw that all the other girls were sitting front row and we were in the back corner. And we were trying not to think too much of it. We were trying not to be like ungrateful. But I think there comes to a point where it's like, that's messed up. Like, that's just really, you know, you want to say like, oh, it was a mistake. It was a coincidence that they just put the 2 plus size girls.
No, because, you know, they go so much planning, who sits where in these shows. It's like, it's not a mistake.
Yeah. And you want to kind of like make those excuses for other people. But then it's like, at what point are you just going to say like, no, they did this intentionally. You probably don't fit. It could have been the fashion show, not even the brand. Like, you don't fit the aesthetic that they're trying to, like, portray. So, yeah, it's a lot of that.
It had to be so upsetting.
It definitely was. I crashed out in my driver's car, like, in between shows. But I think I have a really great ability to pick myself up and be like, all right, now we're going to the next one.
Like, it's fuel for you.
Yeah, it is fuel because I know that when you're paving the way, it's never going to be easy. You know, like, you're going to face those challenges. But my only hope is that me doing that and paving that way is making it easier for the girls coming behind me.
I love that. You're well on your way, if not already on your way, with just whatever, the huge following that you've amassed. What's next for you?
What's next? I feel like it's definitely a lot more advocating. I thought those days where I feel like I had to, like, constantly, like, kind of make those educational videos were kind of behind me because I'm like, the education's there.
Yeah.
But kind of seeing the resurgence of ED culture now, even on TikTok. Skinny talk is like trending now, you know?
What is skinny talk?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like girls just kind of like, get your body summer ready. You know, you have like 12 Mondays till summer.
That's so stressful.
So stressful. I'm like, the summer gonna come.
Yeah,
regardless.
and then it'll go.
It's gonna go
so
exactly.
fast.
It's gonna come and go. And what are you gonna do? Waste your whole spring?
Right.
You know, worrying about it and putting all that pressure on yourself. So I think right now what's next for me is I can't take a seat back and just live on with, you know, my comfortability. It's really just like gonna have to be at the forefront, advocating and letting these girls know that like your body, whatever body you have, is a bikini body. And keep encouraging girls to show up and show out because I think that is the most important thing in this day and age, especially with like Ozempic and whatnot and everybody thinking that thin is the only way.
Now, I have seen the videos where the girls are like, this is what I eat in a fat girl's life, you know, and they're eating like donuts and like really, really wild things. And I think like that's also not healthy though, you know, and that, isn't that a form of an eating disorder too in a way?
No, yeah, I definitely think it is in a form. It's kind of like binging.
Right, exactly. And it is just all these like fatty foods in a shorter period of time.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that either end of the spectrum is like, you know, bad. And I always tell people just, I don't count calories. I don't count macros. I can't be bothered with all that stuff. But I do more like intuitively, you know, listening to my body, listening to like my heart. Because sometimes your mind will convince you, like, again, it will be tricked. Like, you don't know when you're going to eat again. You know, you're going to be starved. So, or this is your only form of control. So eat as much as you can. You know, so finding that balance. Like, I think as Americans, like, we consume way too much sugar. So one of my New Year's resolutions was trying to consume less sugar. Not like cutting out sugar, going cold turkey. You know, just finding those little those switch outs, you know,
because you got to set yourself up for success.
You know, and not even because I want to lose weight, but just because I think that as a whole we should all stop eating so much sugar. Like I think we eat more sugar than like any other country basically.
No, we definitely do, and everything is so supersized also. When you go to other countries and you get like, you know, these meals, everything is, the portions are so small.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think I freed myself also when I stopped looking at like working out as like punishment. Like I used to hate my body and be like, this is what you deserve because you did this to yourself. And now I work out almost every day, sometimes for a few hours, twice a day, do different types of workouts because I love my body.
Well, Phaith, I love your energy. I love your messaging. I think it's so powerful, and I think you're just changing lives with just being your authentic self on social media.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on.
Of course, thank you.